Well, hey there, friends. Here you are. Here we are. We are going to be doing some mobility this morning. There is one, a slight drizzle. Two, it is quite chilly, so I'm going to be doing my mobility in a training jacket, and I hope you will be understanding and forgiving. Um, Life in the mountains, what can I say? Hey there, friends. Thanks for dropping by, saying hi. I hope you're doing well where you're at in the world. For those of you who are watching, my name is Toby. I am 41 years old and I am incredibly dedicated to my health and fitness and to this channel. And I'm even out here in what I hope will soon pass as one of these light mountain showers. Otherwise, we'll move right over there and we'll just turn the camera around 90 degrees to get a different angle. The view isn't going to be as good, but that's a problem for another day then, I guess. And I train to live an active, self-sufficient and adventurous life. I do so by minding my sleep, minding what I eat, showing up for trainings and workouts every day, and generally trying to spend time with people I love and care about, and living a stress-free life by doing things that I enjoy. I'm 41 years old and I try to keep fit and healthy so that I can make the most of life today, but also tomorrow, or I should put it, the next 10, 20, 30, and 40 years. If we can make it up to being 80, it would be absolutely amazing. And all the while, I have a little channel here. I talk about health and fitness and my journey and the things that I do. This is about the way I feel, not about the way I look. I would like to feel fit, capable, and competent for whatever life is going to throw at me. All right? So if that's something you're interested in, you can go ahead and subscribe, and we can continue this conversation about health and fitness together. Okay? The only way to get anything done, friends, is by showing up and doing the work. So I'm going to get up on my mat, and we are going to get started 5:28 a.m. in the mountains with this morning's mobility routine. And nothing tells you there's more of a drizzle than a slightly damp exercise mat. But it's all good. This is not something that is going to get in the way of our morning routine. And training this morning. And it will give a bit of atmosphere to the session. So usually I'd be out in a t-shirt because I don't find 10, 11, 12 degrees to be that daunting, especially not while we're moving. But today it is a bit chillier. There is a slight rain. So it would be against my own interest to actually be out without wearing slightly warmer gear, just to be on the safe side, because if we were to catch a cold or a cough, wouldn't be able to train. And the whole purpose of this program and of this channel and of everything that you're doing is that we're trying to be as consistent as we can for as long as we can. And if you're saying hi, by the way, I don't have a monitor, so I can't check what you're letting me know, but feel free to say hello, ask a question, and at the end of the stream, I'll come over and I'll answer to the best of my ability. Okay. So, why does this matter so much to me? Well, it doesn't really matter so much to me as being healthy does, as not being dependent on medication does, as being able to live self-sufficiently without support does. If that makes sense. So I would like to go through as much of my life being capable, competent, self-sufficient, and able to do the things that I want to do, simply because I think it makes for a happier and more satisfying life. If I'm focused on living rather than on staying alive and surviving, if I am free of discomfort and pain rather than having to live with the burden of medication unnecessarily. Don't get me wrong, I think doctors, medication, healthcare is incredibly useful and helpful. But I would much prefer to simply found a new training tool here, by the way. I would much prefer to just go through life blissfully unaware of the workings of the healthcare system for as long as possible, and then be exposed to that part of the world for as short as possible. You know, to alter the routine here slightly. Work on that shoulder mobility. All right. So, these are things that are top of mind for me. They needn't necessarily be top of mind for you. You might just be going through life thinking life's just peachy, and I think that's a great state to be in. I'm the kind of person who worries about the future, and maybe even worries a bit too much at times. But I have come to the conclusion that if 30 minutes every day as a bare minimum is going to keep me fit and active and healthy longer, then you know what? I'm probably going to be able to find those 30 minutes and actually put that time to good use for myself, for my health and my fitness. And by the way, I like to do these things first thing in the morning simply because that's the only real time where it's uninterrupted and not burdensome to anyone else in the family, right? The kids are sleeping, my wife's sleeping, I'm done by the time everyone wakes up, which means that it doesn't really interfere with the day schedule for the family. But if the middle of the day works better for you because you can manage it for your job, or if after the school run, the daycare run before work starts works for you because that fits your schedule, or if end of the afternoon between work and going home is the time that you can make it work, or if after bedtime is the time that you can make it work, all the more power to you, as long as there's a moment during the week, during the day, that you can find that'll help you focus and do 30 minutes of a workout. Now, by the way, I started with like 7 minutes. All right, 30 seconds on, 30 seconds off. And that 7 times, and that became 14, 21, 28. Okay. And then from there, all we actually did was learn more, learn new things, be interested, be curious, and be searching for a way to actually make the most of the 30 minutes for both strength, conditioning, movement. And I figured out a couple of things that work for me. And you can figure out a couple of things that work for you. Perhaps And, it's through those kind of discoveries that you figure out a routine that is going to work for you, hopefully for life, but at least given your current demands, commitments, responsibilities. And so you hear the drizzle past, even though dark clouds loom on the mountains. I'm just going to go check your messages, chat back at you, and then we can continue on. No message here yet, but for the person who's watching, thanks for dropping by and watching. Thanks for hitting like, and I hope you're doing well where you're at in the world. For some reason, mobility isn't as popular as strength training and kettlebell training is, which I find interesting but not surprising. See, I think if you are moving well, you were probably also training better. And we tend to skip mobility usually until later on in life, where we start to notice that we've lost mobility. But we need to realize and understand that some range of motion simply gets lost along the way and doesn't come back. And other forms of mobility that we have, we can regain and recapture over time. Simply by starting to use our body differently. Things like Pilates, yoga, Tai Chi, great ways actually that are body weight based to combine some elements of physical activity, strength training, cardio, respiratory training, mobility, and range of motion training, both on your own here on the mountaintop or through classes that you do with other people. And I think it's absolutely crucial for us to realize just how important it is to keep moving and to keep moving well and to keep moving through a full range of motion and twist and turn and stretches, to keep understanding what our bodies are capable of and where our limitations lie. This mobility is as much fun and as challenging as other parts. Just the payoff is slightly different because your muscles don't grow doesn't give you a lot of aesthetics, but it gives you this thing called freedom of movement. And that thing is incredibly valuable as well. And we're doing all of these exercises because I have a movement limitation in my shoulder. And we're trying to remedy that. To the best of our abilities. And we'll get there in the end. Hip mobility. This is the most unelegant exercise that I have in my entire repertoire. And that has everything to do with how little I've been vested in mobility through my life. But here we are at 40, making the most of it, learning new things, learning how to slowly but surely increase and maintain our range of motion for our entire body. So, 552 workouts in, that's a year and 9 months. A bit longer, but I wasn't streaming before. So we're well over the 2-year mark by now, okay? And I can tell you, the payoffs are incredibly welcome in life. I can tell you that I feel better for having made the changes I have made. And sometimes I wake up and I doubt and I don't feel like working out. And 9 out of 10 times I just go on routine and do it anyway. And the moment I start to feel good. And sometimes I'll skip. And I think that given the way life flows and the way life works, we also need to be mindful that perfect is the enemy of good enough, and that 3 days out of 7 is good enough. 7 days out of 7 is a perfect score. 52 weeks out of 52 weeks is a perfect score. 48 weeks out of 52 weeks is good enough. 365 days a year is a perfect score. 330 days a year is good enough. Okay? So, and just dare to let yourself experiment with what time frame and intensity works for you and how you can work that into your routine. Okay? Oh, look at that. The rain stopped, and here we are. It would have been easy to say, well, it's raining. We'll skip. It's too cold, right? And put on a jacket. Actually, the cold stops bothering you after a while. So here we are. What a journey it's been. So if you're watching and you find this interesting, maybe not per se the mobility routine, but you can go check out my channel for workouts, strength, and conditioning. And you can see what I've been doing, and maybe that'll show you that it doesn't have to be hard or complicated. All you need to do is be consistent in your approach to health and fitness. And we use our knees a lot while hiking, running, or walking. So you just need to be mindful of that. And the final exercise. That always feels good. Well, friends, that was the full routine. Thanks for dropping by, saying hi. 27.5 minutes. I appreciate you being here, being a part of my channel and my journey. Hopefully bringing me along as a part of your channel and journey in health and fitness for life and living For those of you who are watching, my name is Toby. I'm 41 years old, and I train to live an active, self-sufficient, and adventurous life. I do so by minding my sleep. I try to get between 7 and 9 hours in a night. I do so by minding what I eat. I try to eat within my energy balance, 2200 calories on an average day. I try to eat a lot of greens and vegetables, and I try to hit my protein goals, which is 60 to 80 grams on a day like today without weight training, and 80 to 100 grams on a day where I am actually lifting weights and working a bit harder. I show up for workouts, kettlebell 3 times a week, mobility 3 times a week, HIIT or speed training 3 times a week, once a week, and I try to incorporate at least one long run and usually daily walks that amount to 30 to 60 minutes of walking, on top of just generally taking stairs and doing all kinds of other active things throughout the day. So my threshold for activity is around 2 hours every day at minimum. Try to spend time with people I love and care about and do things that I enjoy. If any of that is interesting to you and you want to get fit and healthy in your 30s, 40s, 50s, go ahead, hit like, subscribe. We can continue the conversation. Check out my channel. There are things there, other things that I talk about. I have a podcast I record on Sundays where I talk about health and fitness and reflect on the week. And, they're just things that we can do and discuss together. All right, friends. Remember, you're good just the way you are. We've got to love ourselves before we can move on. It's the person we are today. It's going to get us to where we want to be tomorrow. It's a bit of kindness going to go a long way. And the only way to get anything done is by showing up and doing the work. And remember, friends, subscribe and enjoy the view for a few seconds while I turn off the camera.